We're at a stage in the process now where we're almost ready to start composing our final scene. To begin with, what we're going to do is just a few final tweaks to the material finishes, and then we're going to make duplicates of the traffic light design in various configurations. So to begin with, what we need to do is just change the finish on here because it was visually too dominant on our design. And in order to do that, we just bring up our material editor. We scroll down to red light glow, and we're going to take our emissive down to, there we go, right at the top there, down to 2. So click on that, preview, you can see that its glow has gone down significantly, and we can just close that off now. The next item that we need to do, we need to bring up our layers manager, close off our light, and we're going to just lock our backdrop. There we go, you can see the padlock locked. Then we're going to select our cam body, so select objects, move that to one side to confirm that we've selected the objects. You can see they're selected there, and as we've done numerous times in the past, we're going to hide them. Then dig under the hide command, swap. Then we're going to take the grouped elements that we've done previously, hide them back, and that just leaves the items that we need to join together. So currently they're just a whole series of very small individual surfaces. We're just simply selecting, dragging from left to right with the left mouse and selecting the join command. You can see it flash there on screen. They're now joined into 4 elements. Okay, so we can now show all again. We've got all of our design in place, and we can now proceed to make multiples of our design. The intent is to create 3 configurations, one in its current upright using user position, the second in a folded down position, and the third in a storage position where the legs are folded away. So to begin with, we just need to join the various elements of our design. So in order to do that, we're going on to our 4 viewports. We're going to turn off our background. We're going to turn off our con layer, and that will just leave our design in place. Select by dragging from right to left with the left mouse all of the top element of the design and grouping the item. Next, we're going to do the same with the bottom portion. This time we'll drag from left to right. So you can see the bottom portion is all selected. Use the group command, and the first step in this process is we're going to take our overall design. We'll press our zoom extents command. So there we go. We'll do that on all 4 views. There we go. Now we're just going to transform, copy, and with ortho on, we're going to drag from the right to the left to create the first iteration of our design. Now this will have the top pillar of the traffic light pulled down, so it's in a lowered position. So we're just simply taking the top pillar, making sure ortho is snapped on, and just dragging down on our front view until we've lowered the traffic light into its final location. Okay, next, select all, and we're going to group that. We can drag that to the right. There we go. And we're going to take the left element and repeat the procedure. Transform, copy, and drag to the left. Now we'll be working on the third iteration of our design, which will be the folded version. So we'll just check, make sure that that's all grouped. So our first version can all be grouped now. And we're just going to drag those together so we can come back to them. Hold down Shift and select the first 2. We can hide those elements. We don't need the top section of the third iteration, so we can hide that as well. But we want all 4 viewports open. So we're just going to press our zoom selected command. I right clicked and it's on all 4 viewports. And the first item we need to do is ungroup the bottom. That will leave the legs in separate locations. We can delete 2 of the legs. Okay, and now we're ready to ungroup the individual leg. First thing we need to do is rotate that into its closed position. So transform, scroll down to rotate, zoom in on the center of that fitting, snap off ortho, and then just drag that strut about halfway through the arc to about there is just fine. Oops, we're just going to make a copy of that, sorry, so we'll just right click on the command. So you can see we've got copy no, we need to key in C, enter, you'll see it'll change to copy yes in order to leave the original one in position. So we just have it there in shot, just there is fine. Scroll down, then move it into position about central. About there is just fine. See how we go with that. Next, we want to take the leg and duplicate that into its folded position as well. So we've got the foot selected. We've got the leg selected. That's perfect. We can temporarily just group that. Now, left click on transform, left click on copy. We're going to drag to the left, click ortho on. Everything's still centered on the 4 viewports. Make our duplicate, drag that down into position. There we go. Going well. Move it down so it's centered on our design. And now we want to rotate this leg up. So we're going to ungroup the item now. And we can rotate it around that point. So transform, copy, transform, rotate, correction. Copy command yes is still on. So we can rotate from that point. Snap off ortho. And we're going to rotate that leg up into position. We can zoom out slightly on that view to see where it's falling. We can snap off snaps just briefly. That's looking about perfect. We can delete the lower section simply by pressing the delete key. So we've now got the leg swung up into its folded position. And we're going to duplicate that center ring up into position as well. So we left click transform, left click copy, and then make sure ortho is snapped back on again. So it's going straight up the surface there. We can see on our top view that everything's centered. That's looking pretty good. We'll just move that across. That's fine. Now we're going to just rotate that individual leg back into position. So transform, rotate. This time we want the copy command off. So C, enter. We're going to zoom in on our view. Just select the base of our leg. Ortho snapped off. Go to the top of our leg. And just rotate that nicely into position. Excellent. So all we need to do now is delete the leg in its previous location. So you can see on our zoom position, we now have a closed leg and an open leg at the same time. So we want to delete the open leg. And we now have the closed leg in location. Select everything to do with that leg. There we go. Make sure everything's there. In fact, the best way to do it is deselect the items we don't need afterwards. There we go. Double check on the 4 views to make sure everything's selected. We've still got to do the item at the top. Left click, there we go. Check on our perspective view, everything's there. We can group that item because it can stay as a leg configuration, and we're now going to do a polar array. Left click on transform, scroll down to array, then polar. Make sure your snaps are snapped on again now, and you've clicked the center mark on your snaps command. Okay, center. The number of items should be 3. If they're not 3, please key that in. Right click, it'll ask for 360 degree by default. Press enter. You can see in preview there it is configured, and right click one more time to accept it, and you can see in the perspective view we now have the folded legs in position. We can show everything there. We've got all 3 designs in position now. Last thing we need to do is just simply group all of that item there. Excellent. And in the design now, we've produced 3 iterations. that we can then fold into position in the next video in the process of getting our final rendered configuration in place. We have 3 different options to work with.